It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're going to be buying and selling stock. We're going to be getting dividends on that stock. We're going to be doing a little bit of bidding. And we're going to be putting depots on the board and trying to score points. Today we're looking at Mogul. Now this is a sort of a re-implementation of this game called Mogul that came out many years ago. And they have done some new mechanics and made the game even thicker than it used to be. But it's for 3 to 5 players, takes about a half hour. Very light and friendly and fun. Let's take a look. At the beginning of Mogul, you will pick which color you are and take one of your depots. Let's say I choose the blue player. I get all the blue depots and I get 6 betting chips to start. Then depending on the number of players, there's 3 and 4, there's another card for the 5-player setup. We set it up with the amount of stock of each type given to each person to start the game. So here in a 3-player game, each player has their depots, 6 chips, and the same amount of stock. You're trying to be the one highest on the point track at the end of the game by getting dividends from your stocks, from selling your stocks, and from getting endgame depot points. This part of the board is brand new for this edition. It's a completely new aspect of the game. So every turn goes like this. The stock comes from the draw pile and comes out. And every person gets 1 dividend or point for every one of these cards they have. Now this is the yellow stock of Ocean Pacific. This tells us how many cards there are in the game of that stock. Now as you can see, each of us have 1, so we would all move up 1 on the score track. 1 for each card that we actually own. Now as you can see, since there's only 8 of these cards, that's the 4th one out. That's already half the amount of cards. And so now the start player has 2 choices. They can bid or they can pass. We start with these 6 chips. You can bid or pass. So let's say we bid. I bid 1, the next player bid 1, you pass the bowl around to the next player, he bids. Well, maybe I go around again. I bid. You only bid 1 chip or you pass. The next player bids, and the 3rd player again bids. Now I decide to pass. When you pass, you take all the chips that are in the bowl and you put them in your stock, but now you're out of the round. You cannot win this card in any way, shape, or form. So it still goes until the last person has passed. So let's say that it's only to the 2nd and 3rd player now. 2nd player puts a chip in, 3rd player just passes and takes the only chip in there. So the 2nd player won this card. They get one of 2 options. They can either add this card to their stock portfolio. In that case, they would take it and they would put it right down like that so everyone can clearly see they have 2. Well, why would they want to do that? A couple reasons. Number 1, every time a yellow card comes out, now he's going to get 2 points instead of 1 because you get 1 for each there. And you can have more shares to sell later, which what we'll talk about in just a moment. So his choice is to either take the stock, or they can decide this is blue. You can sell blue stock or put a blue depot. Now, whichever one they choose, the last player to pass gets to do the other thing. So if I took this card and put it in my stock portfolio, the last player to pass would either get to sell blue stock or put a blue depot. We'll talk about those later. If I decided to sell blue stock or to put a blue depot, that last player to pass would now get to put this in their pile. Let's say I did a depot. This player would be able to put that blue depot, because remember they got to take the blue depot, on any one of these blue lines. Now some of these have 2 colors, blue and gray. These are considered both blue and gray lines, and they're usually the best places to go. We'll tell you why Endgame Scoring. So that player puts it there, and the player that last passed, which was the 3rd player, adds it to theirs. So they put it right there. Now they have 2. And so we'd go again. The card would come up. Oh, same card. Everyone would get the points for dividends, as I showed you before, and the person who took the last card would start the bidding on this one, and so on and so forth, and that's how the whole entire game is played. Now, as you can see, after the first round, some people might have a lot of chips, some people might not have any, or very little, and at some point you may run out of chips. Once per game, you can go back 3 spots on the board to take 3 chips from the bank. And you get these 3 chips here. Because I went back, it's a one-time credit that you can take. Now let's say the game has gone on for a while and we pull up this card. It's another one of these stocks here that allows someone to sell blue. Now, interesting to note that all the cards, they always have the same colors on them. So this gray color will always be able to sell the brown and the yellow will always be able to sell the blue. So if you know you have a lot of blue stock and there's 8 cards And you know that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 2 more cards left. So if you have blue stock, you're going to want to sell pretty soon because there's not going to be many more opportunities to sell it. So let's say, for example, this player wins the bid and they decide to take the action to sell this. The way this works is they can sell it's all or nothing. They sell all of their blue shares. This will end up going to the last player that passed, as I showed you before. So they have 1, 2, 3 shares, and there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a total of 6. They have 3. 6 times 3 is 18. They would go up 18 points up on the score track. And that's pretty much how you score. And then these would go out of the game. Now, when the next person wants to sell blue, they don't have as good a luck. Now, this will continue until the crash card comes up, the stock crash. This is shuffled into one of the last 4 cards of the deck. So you know it's towards the end, but you don't know exactly when. The game ends immediately. Then we go to Endgame Scoring, which is the depot board here. What we do is for each color, we look at how many each player has, and that player is going to get the amount of points squared, essentially. Now, this one counts as blue and silver. So for the blue route, this player has 1, 2, 3, 4. They'd get 4 times 4, which is 16 points. For that, they'd go up on the board 16 points. For gray, now this is gray as well. You can use it for both. That's why these spots are really good. He has 2, so it's 4 more points he would go up. The black player just has 2 here. He'd get 4 points, 2 times 2. And the blue player would get 2 times 2, which is 4 for the purple. And they'd get 1 point for being on the brown because this one is both colors. They would put their depots up on the scoreboard, and whoever has the most at the end of that is the winner. All right, well, there is Mogul. I had heard good things about the original Mogul game. When I heard they were redoing it and adding some things, I was pretty interested. Now, you may have heard of a game called No Thanks. It's a really popular light card game that's a lot of people's favorites to bring around families and non-gamers. It has this interesting bidding mechanic where you're putting 1 chip at a time and eventually you're gonna take all the chips. This has a very similar mechanism to that. When you're bidding for those stocks, it's going around, you're putting 1 chip in, and you're running out of chips, but they're hidden. You don't know how much everybody has, and you're trying to figure out when's the right time to pass and when's the right time to really go for what you need. Very much like No Thanks in that regard, but this is like a No Thanks 2.0 because there's a lot more going on. Now granted, it's still a very light game. You got 2 choices when you're bidding. You're trying to either get the thing to keep the stock to get dividends and to sell them later, or you're going to be selling. Now, the aspect they added was that board with the depot. And I can see that this added a lot because before, you know, when you're the last person to pass, the person who got the card gets to choose what they want to do. If they keep the stock, you have to be able to sell that other color. Well, if you don't have anything to sell or it's not the right time to sell, it's kind of like a lost turn, where now you get an action to put something there and try to get some end game bonus points. And that gives you a lot of different decisions to make at that point. So all in all, it's a good light game. It's a good family game. It's a good little bidding game. It's like, No Thanks, not on steroids, but No Thanks pumped up into a bigger game that's even more fun. So I really like this. If you like those light games, if you like No Thanks, but you want to take it just to the next level, this is a great family stock game. It's even though stock games, some people think they're boring, but it's really that mechanism of passing the ball around, seeing how many chips you have. Oh gosh, I'm getting to the end. I really need to sell all these. Did I keep enough chips? There's some tension there. It's a lot of fun. I'm definitely keeping this one. A light bidding game. That's Mogul.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.